Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Raw Faith. This is most definitely episode 11. I'm like 99% sure of that.
For sure.
Um, we're jumping on today talking about something unique to my man P Dog's life that he just shared within Elevate. He shared with me in the past. Unique to his life, unique to Elevate, and me as well, of course, with him being so involved in my life. Um, but P Dog, what are we talking about today, dude?
Today we're talking about a very short passage from the Bible, just hidden deep in the depths of the books of Chronicles. Most people don't even dive into the books of Chronicles. It's just a list of names and lineages and heritages, and it can get super in the weeds. But we're talking about a super specific prayer from that those books, and it's called the Prayer of Jabez. And I'll just honestly go ahead and kick us off here by reading it.
Hang on. Real quick, before you start reading this, I'm curious your take, raw take, because we're on Raw Faith, around why are there these lineages and lists of, I don't know what they're called, but these, like, especially in the Old Testament where it just is ripping the names. What are those called when it's like, John lived to age 400, David lived to, like, they just start ripping these names. Can't remember what it's called, but why do you think that those are in there? I know the only one of significance, at least for me thus far in the Bible, was reading Jesus' lineage. Thought that was pretty cool. But other than that, I'm like, these suck. Why are these in here?
Do you have any idea on that? Any guesses?
I I mean, maybe in the Old Testament, just to get across how long they lived. The Jurassic difference from our lifespan and their lifespan. We can do an episode on that or talk about that in a later episode. But I don't know why they would just be ripping these lineages in there. No, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's some sort of integration, cross references in the Bible, and probably some layers of understanding of that book that I don't know and don't have. That if I did have, I would probably be like, oh, this is extremely important or cool to understand, helps me. But no, with my knowledge as it stands, seems useless.
I got you. Cool. The
Anything
only
from
thing
you,
we,
or are you in the same boat?
the only thing I can really think of, and it's because I just finished up the book Becoming a Carpenter. Shout out Matt Call, one of the guys in our community. He sent it to me. But it just basically it's this guy who was trying to disprove Christ's life as the Messiah, and through his evidence that he found, it actually came to prove that he was the Messiah. Just
That's
super
crazy.
interesting. But at the end of it, it was talking about just how rare it was for all the prophecies to be fulfilled for his life. I mean, he fulfilled multiple. I mean, all the prophecies in the Bible. And one of
Yeah.
them we're just talking about the lineages, how just rare that was, the fraction. It was like he said 10 to this random number. And he said if you took silver dollar coins and spread them all over the state of Texas, they would pile up 2 feet. And then it's like asking a man to go out blindly and pick one up and that be Jesus the Messiah. That's how rare it is for him to come and actually fulfill those prophecies. It's just wild. So, I mean, I think it could be just going into great detail here on just the rarity of him fulfilling the prophecies and just going in and actually listing out all the names. But and that may be a stretch. Hopefully, someone can give us some wisdom in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, prayer of Jabez. Let's get it.
Yeah. So, First Chronicles. Let's see. First Chronicles 4. I already had this pulled up, but I flipped the page. Yeah, First Chronicles 4, 9 through 10. And just to get this across, like on each side of this little passage here, it's just lists of names. And then all of a sudden, in verse 9, it stops and it says, there was a man named Jabez who was more honorable than any of his brothers. His mother named him Jabez because his birth had been so painful. He was the one who prayed to the God of Israel, "Oh, that you would bless me and expand my territory. Please be with me in all that I do and keep me from all trouble and pain." And God granted him his request. And then it goes back to list more names. But it's just this little little excerpt in the Bible, and I've actually read the book on it by Bruce Wilkinson, Prayer of Jabez. I don't even know if y'all can see that, but it just goes in to say that this small prayer may be the key to tapping into all that God has in store for your life. Like most people just don't have the boldness to ask.
Yeah. That's
That makes
crazy that
sense.
it just goes from names, breaks up. This guy was more honorable than his brothers. Quick prayer. God granted it. All right, back to names. Like,
So simple. If you weren't being super intentional about it, that would just you would skip right over it. Keep reading.
I'm sure I probably did.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, no, that's wild to think about. I mean, obviously for a reason, and you're about to get into, your reasons of why we're talking about it here today. But just, I mean, even the lineages, like we were just talking about, just shows that God doesn't miss. Like God just does not miss. I was listening to a video actually yesterday. Is on the stats of the cross references of the Bible and how many there are. I don't know, like some odd multiple thousands. Uh, and it was like if this was written by one man, we would say that that's like he's an author who's incredible, a master of being able to write this book and make that many cross references. But what the Bible was written by over 40 men, somewhere in
Hmm.
that ballpark. I'm not 100% sure, but it was written by more than 40, and it spanned over, I'm not sure, but multiple years and three different continents. Um, so it's like, and it still made that many cross references. So it's just like it's has God written all over it, but it just shows like everything in the Bible is intentional and done for a reason, and that goes along with the prayer of Jabez we're about to get into. But let's rip it, man. Tell us your story, bro.
Yeah, so I mean, essentially, it has a lot to do with how I even came into the world, and of course how I got here, sitting here with Matt today. But the first example that I have to give this in my life, I wasn't alive at the time, but my grandfather, he he came across this verse in early 2002, and he just felt called to lead a Bible study on it with his class at church. And so, being the faithful guy that he is, he answered the call and led the class in that at church. And I think they went through the book that I just showed, by Bruce Wilkinson, and they went over it for several weeks, and then got through the Bible study. And soon after, um, his daughter, my mom, which was she was 19 at the time, they found out that she was pregnant,
Mm.
and they're like they did not take it well at all. They were very distraught. Of course, their 19-year-old daughter she's pregnant. Like, what is this going to do to the family name? They're just in complete. Um, their world is turned upside down ultimately, and soon after, it kind of calmed down. But both my grandparents were still in distraught. A lady from their class that he actually taught the Prayer of Jabez in, she came up to him and she was like, "David, I know you're pretty distraught about this, about these circumstances, but have you considered that the very prayer that we've been praying for the Prayer of Jabez, this is God providing in that?"
Mm.
And that's when his mindset switched. I think that's when he realized, like, maybe this is him providing. And and since then he's seen me as a blessing, and he's poured into me and just seen me as an opportunity to not only like ruin the family name, which was their first thought, their
Yeah.
daughter having a kid at 19, but an ability to further the family name, to bless it even further, to expand it, to enrich it. So that's why he's just poured into me, and I'm just blessed that that lady came up to him and mentioned that to him, helped him shift that mindset. But God was working all over that, man, and I truly think that. I mean, I'm not trying to sound what's the word? Not say that I'm a blessing, because that sounds a little bit selfish, but just
Not at all.
yeah, you get what I'm saying.
I'm gonna take you to a whole another level of uncomfortability with your selfishness, but
Oh boy,
painful birth it describes in the prayer of Jabez. And it just, there was a pain around your mom's pregnancy in the beginning, it sounds. Just unexpected, unwanted, seemingly. And here you are now. So seems like some sort of, pain around that. I'm not sure how painful your birth actually was, but what I think is crazy is how does the prayer describe, prior to the prayer, it says Jabez is most honorable, more honorable than his brothers. Is that what it said?
that's correct. Yeah,
What's crazy about that is how I've described you countless times to people, literally, especially in networking opportunities. And I didn't even know this was going to come to my mind, but when I'm networking with new people and I'm trying to connect them with you or new Elevate members, because I call them as soon as they join. When I answer, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, you gotta book your kickoff call with Paden. He'll get you onboarded. Like, you're gonna love that guy. Like, most honorable dude I've ever met.
hmm.
And that's been a consistent word that I've used to describe you. So I know you
Amen.
just said you didn't want to call yourself a blessing, you get a little prideful, but we've already talked about humility and pride. Um, so just,
Dude, I
I
appreciate
don't
it.
know, kind of some irony there, I suppose, man, because this next
Yeah,
one's kind of crazy too,
absolutely. Well, I appreciate you, brother. It means a lot.
for sure.
So this next example um, that I have to give, it does have to do with my grandfather again. Um, it was my first year of college, and a year, maybe half a year before, I just started going down like my self development journey, really working on myself. Um, separate myself from just people in my past, really trying to take my own path in life. And with that, came a season of just feeling pretty alone, and just walking my own path. That comes with just with that feeling, especially. And I remember it was early January of 2022, and my grandfather, he asked me to come out to eat with him. I was like, sure, why not? Go out to eat. And at this time, I didn't know the significance of this prayer in my life, the prayer of Jabez, relating to the first story I told. Um, and, we sit down, get to talking, and then afterwards, he hands me the book. He was like, I think you could benefit from reading this. I was like, okay, cool. I had a stack of books I was already reading, so I was pretty interested in learning some more at the time. And this one was short. I could just sit down at night and read it. So I did that. First night I got it, picked it up, and started reading through it. I was like, wow, this is pretty nuts. Like, small little prayer, just perfectly placed in the middle of Chronicles. Like, wow, that's interesting. So I started praying it from that day on, and over the course of those 2 to 3 months, from January to late March 2022, um, made some connections on social media, some wild connections, which actually have led me to you and Mitch on Twitter, and then leading to us connecting, and then joining Elevate, and then flourishing into what it is now, from to me joining it in on the business side, you asking me to come on as business partner, and then now us here right now speaking on raw faith, dude.
Raw faith. Oh man. What's crazy too is I mean, man, you just totally I felt like shortchanged your that story a little bit.
Oh
But
gosh.
what's crazy is Paden joins Elevate, and if you want the full story, like in depth, go listen to literally the episode on this YouTube channel called Paden's Story. But um, Paden joins Elevate, and we're talking, and he's like, dude, I want to start a business, but I don't know what it is. And he's got these millions of ideas, but he's in college going for a finance degree. And so he's telling me all these ideas and whatnot. And I'm trying to hone him in, rein him in, get him calibrated on something worthwhile, something he's passionate about. Um, and then eventually I just called him up multiple times over the course of, a handful of days. And I'm just like, dude, you got to drop out of college. Like, it's time, drop out, come join me on this mission that is Elevate, which was absolutely insane at the time. Like, what was I promising anybody? What I get you into. Um, but yeah, it's just insane to even think that I was saying that. Just trying to get you to drop out of college with basically nothing guaranteed on the other side of it. It was really just a push to do it. And you can share why those phone calls were significant, because I think that's pretty wild too.
Yeah, for sure. So during that time that you kept calling me up, trying to persuade me to come on this biz ship that may or may not burn down. We didn't know then, but yeah. So, like you said, you called me up in a span of like anywhere from 7 to 10 days, and you know, after you called me a couple times, I just started praying about this decision, praying viciously, man. Never prayed like this before, and each time I prayed, it was within like 10, 15 minutes. I'll get another call from you. You'd be like, "Hey, bro, what are you thinking? Like, joining on this thing, joining this ship?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. I don't know." Next day, prayed, boom, phone call again. This happened for like 5, 6 days, dude. Every time I prayed, 10 minutes, 15 minutes after, I would get a phone call from you. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so annoying." And then the last day, I was like, "Okay, this is not right. Like something's clicking here." And it was like, "Okay, I got to commit to this."
Day one, you're praying. You're like, God, give me a sign. Phone call hits. Day two, God, give me a sign.
Give me
Phone
another
call hits.
sign.
Yeah. Day three, God, that sign, I don't know about it. Like, I'm going to need a new sign. Phone call. By the time at the end, you're like, all right, God, I think I see the signs. That's funny, man.
That's
That's
exactly
funny.
right.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just wild, like how God works in these ways, man. Just making it so abundantly clear that this is where you needed to be. Making it so abundantly clear to your grandfather, that you were going to be a blessing and an expansion of, his last name and his life, and that was the perspective he needed to have. And I mean, here you are, dedicating your life to sharing the good news and helping people cultivate their faith and their relationship with God and become the best version of themselves. Like, not a more noble path than that to take in this life. So, I mean, you're doing exactly, what your grandfather's perspective became after, that woman had that conversation with him. Record this episode, obviously a very short episode. We're at the 20-minute mark right now. Was not to sit here and boast about Paden's life necessarily, even those are, just God moments to share with you guys. But it's one to don't ever underestimate the power of prayer. I think is a big point to take away from this. Just praying for these big things, for the expansion of territory, for the protection that the prayer of Jabez is illuminating here. Um, and then also, like, don't ever underestimate the Bible. What's written in there, like, because I mean, these are some miraculous events in your life, from just your birth to basically your career, your life's mission with Elevate, essentially. Like, those are
Yeah.
some monumental moments in your life that have derived, from the prayer of Jabez. So it's like there's some power in every single word in this book. Like, don't underestimate, any words that you are reading, whether you understand them or not. First time that I probably read through Chronicles, you're right, I probably skipped right over it, didn't give it the time of day. First time that anyone's probably read this prayer of Jabez, yourself included. What is that? Who is Jabez? What's this mean? Why am I just going back to the list of names? Why was that even relevant or significant? It's like, if you're new to the Bible, like, that's going to happen a lot of times. But understand, there's significance in weight, and everything is there for a reason, for a purpose, even, those lineages. So I think that those are two big points that I want to illuminate. And then the third point I would make is, it tells us in Matthew, like, keep knocking, like, keep
Mhm.
seeking. And it's something where the prayers have been consistent. You have consistently prayed this prayer of Jabez, even to the point where you shared it with me, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks ago, where this prayer has been monumental from birth to, career path, dropping out of college, to now, even resurfacing it with an episode, and just a season of praying over it. Like, you're consistently knocking, consistently seeking. Like,
Yeah.
the Bible tells us to do that. So, don't underestimate the power of consistency in prayer as well. Like, three easy points to take away from these two, super short, simple, but yet, monumental stories of Peyton's life.
Hmm. Absolutely, dude. I love that. That and just have the boldness to ask God for more, to tap into those blessings that He has in store for you. And they may not come in the ways you expect. Like, I guarantee you, my grandfather did not expect his daughter to get pregnant at 19, but that's the crazy and wild plan that God had in store for him. So have an open
Yeah.
mind.
Amen. And I'm sure, like, that does not mean it's going to be easy either. Like, it's crazy what happens when our prayers become our problems, man. Like, you get an answered prayer, and, like, I was even thinking about this with Elevate. Like, at a point yesterday where I was just, man, feeling that weight, feeling that stress of this mission, this business, everything, these million tabs in my mind that are open 24/7, feeling behind on all of them. And Tawny actually in prayer was like, this is something we've prayed for. Like, this is something I've visioned for a long time in my life, having tabs to be opened, having people
Hmm.
to deal with, having fires to come up, and problems and expansion of the vision, and,
Yeah.
growing pains, essentially. Like, it's better than the alternative. So it just shifted me back to a perspective of gratitude for God's presence and God at work in my life. So it's funny just how our prayers can then become, our answered prayers can then become prayers again. They can then become problems. So
Hmm.
it's wild to think about. But, and it was also something of, Tawny was texting a girl also in her community in Noble, and this girl was asking for a prayer request. Her significant other was struggling with some sort of depression, and her father had just passed away.
Hmm.
And, man, talk about perspective. Like, I'm sitting here, full health. Sunday just came off of a day where I basically called my entire family, like immediate family, like called both sets, called one set of grandparents, called my grandpa, called my dad, called my mom, like talked to my siblings amongst that. Like, it's like I got to talk to the family members and the people who are closest to me that I love
Hmm.
on Sunday. Like, I got a complete clean bill of health, knock on wood. Not that that does anything. Pray to God, I'll say. Just a knee jerk to say that, but, just perspective overall too, of just like, what is actually a problem. Like with your grandpa, like, man, what a blessing to have a child coming into this world,
Yeah.
and he just needed that perspective shift. Of just like, hey, like, there's so many people out there who are struggling to have kids, who are praying to,
Hmm.
have to get pregnant, and it's like you're going to look at this as a problem in your life because what your worldly status is going to be lowered a little bit because your daughter got pregnant at 19. Like, is that really the perspective we want to take into this? And I'm not isolating and calling your grandpa out. I'm saying this is all of us. This is all of us, myself included. So some unique perspective to be shared within this story as well.
100%, brother. I love that.
Oh man, but I mean, I know you shared this inside of Elevate. So if you're an Elevate guy listening to this, go read P Dog's post, forum post inside the Faith Resources channel. And you can get a look at the book that he also has. He posted a nice picture in there because I mean we couldn't see it on the screen. That glare was too bad. So go check that out. If you want to order that book, potentially get it ordered. Start praying that prayer bare minimum. Even if you just go find it in First Chronicles, 4:9 through 10. Like go find that prayer. Even if you just pray it once, pray it once. Just give it the chance and give God, the opportunity to work in your life. But anything else you want to cover before I
Yeah,
say what I say every episode?
I think I'm good, brother. This is also the action of the week this week. So, I mean, go pray that prayer, especially for the Elevate guys.
Heck yeah. So, anybody listening to this, pray that prayer. And second action for you guys, comment what topic you want us to cover next. Obviously, we kept this one just short and sweet, diving into something that's pretty significant in Peyton's life. But whatever you guys want us to cover, we're happy to do some research, study the Bible a little bit. Try not to lean on our own understanding, but definitely draw from our own experiences to be able to share vulnerability and get raw with you guys around whatever topic that is. But appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you in episode 12.